So, good evening. Let's take the prayer, please. Master of all worlds, highest power, merciful parent of compassion, in your presence, eternal one, source of strength for us as you have been for our ancestors, we very humbly acknowledge you. What are we? What is our life that you have done such great kindness to us? Therefore, we place our appeals before you, so that you may forgive and absolve us of all our faults and failings. Let our faults never become barriers between us and you. And may it be your desire to prepare our hearts to feel awe and love for you. May you listen to these words of ours, and may you open our encumbered hearts to the mysteries of your Torah. May this our study be a source of pleasure before your throne of glory, like sweet incense. May you shower down upon us the light of our soul source in all the ways by which we define ourselves.
May the sparks of your holy servants,
through whom you have revealed these in the world, shine and sparkle. May their merit, their ancestors' merit, the merit of their Torah, their innocence and their holiness stand for us, so as to prevent us from stumbling when we study these words. In their merit, may our eyes be illumined by what we study, as in the saying of the sweet singer of Israel, open my eyes that I may gaze into wonders of your Torah. May the words of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart be acceptable to you, my rock and my redeemer. For it is the eternal who grants wisdom. It is from his mouth that knowledge and understanding issue forth. Na 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 na. Oh no no no. Na 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 na. Oh no no no. Oh no 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 no. No 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Ah na 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 na. Oh no no no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no no no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. No 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. Ah na 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 na. Oh na 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 na. Oh no no no. Oh no 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 no. Oh no 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 no. no, 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 oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, no, oh, no, 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 no. Oh, no, 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 no. Good evening. We're on page 394. And we were in the middle of discussing the two sides of reality, the godly side that brings forth all that there is in the world, Sha'akol niya b'dvaro. And then there's what's called the other side, the Sitra Achra. And that's the side of evil, and the side, as it says at the end of the big paragraph on 394, from here all injuries, all evil, all death, all evil aspects and species of the world, they all come from that side. One is the opposite of the other. And we discussed this a little bit last time. We're coming forward to Shabbat Zachor, and this is, of course, one of the hard topics to talk about. So the Zohar, as we've said many times, the Zohar, it affirms that there is real evil operating in our world of experience. We talk, where does it come from? Right now, we're not interested in that, or I don't care if you're interested or not, we're not dealing with it. But it's there, it's real. It lurks literally in the shadows, and pounces on any opportunity to hurt people and to create pain and death in the world. And we're going to continue from that acknowledgement. And now the question is not just a conceptual question of how do we evaluate such a picture of reality, but if we take what the Zohar says to heart, what do we do about it? So Shabbat Zachor talks about remembering to fight evil, to fight Amalek. However we conceive of that evil. So to borrow a kind of a trope from the 12 steps. However you conceive of the good side, then however you conceive of the bad side. How do you fight that bad side? How do you deal with it? So let's see what happens. 394, middle of the page, Rabbi Chizkiah said. So is somebody going to read for us tonight? Okay, so tonight it'll be Carol.
Let's hope. Rabbi Chizkiah asked, how?
Rabbi Chizkiah said, two paragraphs before that. That's 6 lines up.
Rabbi Chizkiah said, certainly so. Happy is the one whose share is firmly rooted in the good side, who does not incline to the other side, but is saved from there.
Okay, so we have here an exclamation, right? An affirmation. Oh, it's so true. There's the good and the bad, and how fortunate, right? Kind of like an ashrei. Zakayininon. How fortunate are those whose share is firmly rooted in the good side? What does that mean? Their share is firmly rooted. It sounds people who are really, really tied to the good side, right? and do not incline to the other side. They don't have the temptation, the desire, the inclination to participate with the schemes and the evil of the other side. So there are people that simply aren't susceptible. I would read it that way when it says, but is saved from there. It's not simply that they're in the clutches of evil and then they're saved and plucked away from the clutches of evil. There are some people that are not as susceptible to evil. There's some people that, they're fortunate enough not to be, driven, by terrible impulses that they have to fight with all the time. But that they just simply, they're just decent human beings who are content and comfortable living on the good side. Okay, let's see now Rabbi Yehuda.
Rabbi Yehuda replied, certainly so. Happy is one who can be saved from that side. Happy are the righteous who can save themselves from them and wage war against that side.
So again, both of them start with, right, Vadai, certainly so, right? But then Rabbi Yehuda, the second one, he talks about a more active engagement in being on the good side, right? Here, I would say one who can be saved from that side is one who really is in danger and then needs to be saved, right? One who has to fight hard not to succumb or not to be defeated by the evil side. And the righteous who can save themselves and wage war, right? To be able to then engage and confront evil and fight back against it without the terrible risk of falling prey to evil. Way back when, we saw that the Zohar felt that this was part of what Abraham's journey was about. That when Abraham goes down to Egypt, he is like a white knight going into battle against evil, and who, for his own development as a spiritual exemplar, he needed to confront evil and to emerge from evil, saved from evil. So this is, I think, a little more of an active engagement, an active facing of evil and facing it down. So now, how do you do that? How do you fight against evil? Rabbi Chizkiah.
Rabbi Hiskia asked, how? He opened saying, for by stratagems you can wage war. Which war? The war against that evil side, whom a human being must combat and overpower to be delivered from him.
I want to check the verse itself. The verse is from Mishlei, and the verse the verse extols people who are wise, right? And says, don't be jealous of bad people. Right? Don't be envious of people, of the bad guys. Just be good and you'll be all right. Right? In the end, it's not worth it. What their corrupt spirits are not something to be envious of. So the wisdom of honesty is worth it. And then after it says, verse 5, Gever chacham ba'oz v'ish da'at ma'ametz koach. Right, a person who is wise, who is understanding, discerning, that's something that's your power, right? To know how to withstand the blandishments of evil and the temptations. That's your might, right? Oz, ometz, right? Courage and might. So, but then it says, Ki betachbulot ta'asel lecha milchama. Utshua merov yoetz. You will do war, you will do battle against the evil ones, right? Betachbulot, translated here, stratagems, figuring things out, all kinds of plans that you can cook up. And I'm sorry, and berov yoetz, by increasing counsel, right? By really, thinking about, well, what if I do this, what if he does that? What if they do that, what do we do then? To thinking it through and really planning, taking good counsel, that's your victory depends on that. So that's the verse saying that there's a lot of thinking and literally strategies, right? Thinking through chess moves, thinking through ways to get from here to there, which is not a straight line. Going through a straight line, nobody has to think about it. That's just obvious. How do you do this and get to where you have to go? So Rabbi Chizkiah has asked how, and it's a rhetorical question because he's going to say his own theory here. He continues and says, how do we fight evil? We fight evil with stratagems. Okay, so the war is the war against that evil side. And in order to be saved from evil, you got to use your seichel. You got to use your wiles. You got to be shrewd, right? So let's see now how this where this leads.
All
right, read that again.
He opened saying, for by stratagems you can wage war. Which war? The war against that evil side, whom a human being must combat and overpower to be delivered from him. Come and see how Jacob strove with Esau on account of his side, outsmarting him, dealing with him as tortuously as necessary in order to overpower him in the beginning and at the end, all fittingly, beginning and end in a single pattern, as is written,
Bechorati,
my birthright, and later,
Birchati,
my blessing,
the same letters, but switched around. Bechorah, bet chaf resh. Bracha, bet resh chaf. Right, so it's the same letters, just flipped around.
Bechorati and
Birchati.
Okay, maybe I'll be able to say it the next time.
Birkat hamazon, right? The blessing for the food, right? Benching. Go ahead.
My blessing, beginning and end as one, corresponding to one another, to prevail against him precisely, befittingly. So happy is one who saves himself from him and is able to overpower him.
Okay, so the overpowering ends up being not by might, but by smarts. Anybody want to weigh in on this a little bit? This is, of course, coming back to the whole earlier story that we've looked at more than once. Jacob contending with his brother Esav. For the purposes of the Zohar, Esav is the representation of evil of the other side. And Jacob has to wrestle with him. Jacob has to fight him. How does Jacob prevail over Esav? So, come on, somebody talk up a little bit. Anybody? Yeah. Okay, wait. Larry raised his hand. He was a very good boy. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to comment that the pasuk that's from Mishlei there is really, the plain meaning, the pshat of it has to do with wars like, war wars that one might have against another country or another tribe or something like that. But that
There are wars against countries. I didn't know that. Yeah.
but this takes it and psychologizes it or personalizes or spiritualizes it in terms of making it a personal struggle against the Yetzer Hara or the evil side in your life. That's one point. And then the other thing is that the way Mishlei already told you that the way you do it is using your intellect. So it's not just a question of force of will. It's a question of knowing how to do it.
Right. So I want to distinguish. I want to make it really clear. I'm sure that this is what you're saying, but nevertheless, I want to make it intellect. When I think about intellect, I think about people who know a lot of books, who know science. They know stuff. Hold on a second. I'm getting one of these computer notices. And I don't want this. So goodbye. So intellect to me sounds very straightforwardly academic. It's intellectual, intellect. Tachbolot is not intellect. Tachbolot is to a certain extent sneakiness. So one second, Rich. So, when you want to internalize the battle, that's definitely part of the story. But first, we take it on face value. Jacob has an external, not internal, an external foe. He's got an opponent. From the Zohar's way of reading that story, he's got an opponent named Esav. How he's going to outwit. Wits is not the same thing as intellect. He's going to outwit Esav. When we think about, the chessboard presents itself as a real military kind of field. And then we start using our smarts. And of course, a genius chess player, it's a very specific kind of talent. It's a very specific kind of non-linear thinking. So I want to distinguish that from a kind of an intellect idea, which could be a lot more straightforward. It's about surprise. It's about feinting, not F-A-I-N-T, but F-E-I-G-N-T, right? It's about tricking. It's about making it look like you're going to do one thing, but then do another. Why? Because 3 steps ahead that's how you're going to be able to come back to where you need to be. So seichel, again, I used the word seichel before, but seichel is inadequate also, because seichel, a lot of times for most of us, David wrote that in the chat, seichel for most of us is about common sense.
Right.
And that's not this is not common sense. This is shrewdness. Cleverness. This is, but cleverness in a sustained and deep way.
Like jujitsu or something like that.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, Rich, you've been very patient. Yeah, what do you want to say?
No, I was just going to say deception, like what he did with at his mother's direction of, dressing like Esau, to his blind, just really blatant,
Right. So again, the deception is, in the end, he deceived him. But the deception doesn't come only by simply lying. It comes out of a planning. It comes out of thinking 3 steps ahead, that I'm going to do this and they're going to react this way. This is the way it's going to look to them, but really I'm going to present it that way, but really I'm laying the groundwork for something else so that
Which is what his mother did.
Right. So he just plays, he just follows the instructions. Rivka, it has that kind of, smarts. That's the way, you might want to say it. Yeah, Len.
Yeah, and I think the smarts aspect of it is reflected even in the text itself, in the way the writer used wordplay of Bechorati and Birchati. First he gets the birthright, the Bechora, and then he gets the blessing. Ha ha ha! So I think textually it echoes what's going on thematically.
Right, and that's what the Zohar is trying to show us. That yeah, do you think that Jacob didn't know that that's what he was trying to do? That's exactly what he was trying to do. He knew that this was all part of the same bigger plan that he had to conceptualize correctly and then execute successfully. The claim that the Zohar is making, again, I don't want it to be all of the things that we then can apply it to, in terms of our own personal struggles and so on, are appropriate. That's a kind of a Hasidic path where you take these big things and you internalize and psychologize them. When people, let's say, again, I'm just going to take a chance and speak superficially about things that I don't know that much about, which I do every Thursday night. But the idea of, does jihad mean real physical conflict, or does jihad mean something spiritual, internal, struggling with your, as we would say, our Yetzer Hara, the spiritual battle that each and every one of us has to fight to become better people? So of course that's real, and that's super important. But it takes its meaning from the simple reality of fighting. It takes its significance from a very plain, straightforward image of combat with an enemy. So that's external to you. That's not simply your own evil inclination or your own temptations or your own buttons that have been pushed or mishigasin or whatever, or issues. This is talking about the fact that there are people out there that are on the bad side, people outside of you that are on the bad side, and you will have to fight them. So I cannot just be subtle about this. This is a recurrent tragic reality of our world. There are situations where we need to fight bad people. And what the Zohar is saying here is, you don't fight bad people, at least only, by issuing a proclamation of moral correctness. You got to outsmart them. You got to outsmart the bad people. You got to trick them, and you've got to mislead them, and you've got to act crooked in order to defeat those who are inherently crooked. You have to be contextually, situationally, right? The idea of situational ethics. You have to be situationally, contextually capable of being as manipulative and as dishonest and as shrewd as they are, in order to defeat them. That's the extreme takeaway that I think a lot of us would rather just sort of like leave alone. But that's what, military strategy is really a military strategy, and political strategy is really political strategy. And some people have the talent for it and some people don't. And what you pray for is that the person who engages or who has that talent uses that talent in a way that doesn't corrupt them, in a way that doesn't end up, slipping them over into the other side. That's the huge terror of this, that if you fight the other side, if you fight the dark side with its own weapons, do you just simply turn into the dark side yourself? And you're just making excuses to allow yourself to do it, which of course the dark side says also. The dark side makes wonderful justifications for why what it wants to do, is justified. Look at Putin is going to denazify, a situation. Who could be against denazifying things? So you need a certain amount of double think, right? Where you need to be able to think like a thief, but not become a thief. You need to think like a murderer, but not become a murderer. And that's very hard. When we have this phrase to the end of the paragraph, right, that Jacob was able to pull this off. He started with something less consequential, the birthright. The birthright in the end is a material thing, right? He would get twice as much. He wouldn't get twice as much. Believe me, he was going to be fine. But that's the bechorah, right? To be the firstborn. But the bracha is the consequential determinant of destiny. Will he get the bracha? So he starts with the bechorah, and he ends up, of course, outmaneuvering his brother to get the bracha. So that's all good. So to prevail against him at the top of page 395, to prevail against him precisely, befittingly, right, which is kidakayaut, as it should be. So the note here is 611. So 611.
Prevail against him precisely, first obtaining the birthright, then the firstborn's blessing.
So that's the step-by-step that the Zohar is talking about here. But the befittingly, I don't think the precisely may be that. Step one and then step two. But the befittingly is, I think, actually talking about what I'm saying, that you have to fight, but it has to be as is worthy, maybe is another way instead of fittingly. Fittingly, as is worthy, you have to not lose that connection to the reason why you're fighting. And that's very difficult and very hard to think about and very susceptible to different people accusing other people of not succeeding in doing that. So in the end, how do you satisfy yourself? Forget about other people. You may not be able to satisfy other people. Jacob has spent thousands of years in the eyes of many people not being an admirable person. For the Zohar, of course, he did what he needed to do for the right reasons and with the right result. But for a lot of us, we don't like it. So befittingly did Jacob, fall into the same kind of stuff that we're condemning supposedly of others, or not? So happy is the
Rabbi, I have a question.
One second. So happy is the one who saves himself from him. It's not just that the evil one will trip you up and destroy you, but now coming back to Larry's point before, what will the evil one be able to do to you if from the outside it looks like you're succeeding, but you've turned into a monster? Can you save yourself while you're defeating the evil one? Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, so maybe I'm too stuck in the gender role construct here, but I'm going back to the stories of Jacob the mama's boy, right, and the way they framed this analysis early on. The wild Esau and the mama's boy Jacob, and is that some of what's saving him? Is that,
well, for the Zohar, it's not mama's boy as a kind of a gender feminine softening up. The mama is Shekhinah.
That's right.
So it goes beyond simply, male tough, female sensitive.
Right.
It's about whether you're really on God's side.
Right.
whether you're feeling that godliness.
And
So go ahead.
right, as opposed to, Isaac, who's on the other side, the toughness, the gura, right?
Right.
You got the chesed coming in here.
So and Jacob has that capability of balancing out both. Right. And that's where, again, to be tough for Jacob is to be cruel, devious, to force himself to be that way. That's where the toughness of his father that he inherits is crucial. He has to, I'm sure that there are these Shakespearean, he has to steel himself, steel, he has to force himself to become this person that he otherwise would not want to be at all. He just wants to be left alone and sit in the tent. So, and this is his battle. It's his battle to actually force himself to be what the Mishle said before. The oaths, the might that you have to exhibit is a might that also means relinquishing an easygoing kind of righteousness, a disengaged righteousness. That's the first step we started with, right? That's what Rabbi Chizkiah said. Oh, it's so nice if you can just be a righteous person and never have to actually fight for righteousness. And you never have to actually, get down and dirty with people who are trying to ruin the world. If you're privileged enough, if you're entitled enough, if you're safe enough, then you can feel good about just being a good person. What happens if you have to fight? All right. Rabbi Chizkiah. Now we're in back to Rabbi Chizkiah said, certainly so. Carol, you got it?
Rabbi Chizkiah said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong. I skipped the whole paragraph, that little paragraph. Come and see.
Come and see. Remembering and attending for good are as one. Mystery of faith. Happy is one who strives after faith. As is said, they will follow Yud-He Vav-He, roaring like a lion.
Okay. Look at 612, the note.
They will follow Yud-He Vav-He, roaring like a lion. In the biblical context, the second phrase refers to God. He will roar like a lion. However, Rabbi Yehuda applies it to the human strivers.
Yeah, look at that as a typo. Should be human, not humans. Human strivers. And the Zohar applies it in other places with regard to Rashbi's followers. That Rashbi's followers, Rashbi is the leader, and his followers have to be strong like lions to be able to keep up with Rashbi. Sometimes it literally is applied to them struggling on the road while Rashbi, goes on, either because he's got a donkey to ride on and they don't, or because he's just like, so much, on another level. But it applies both to following God and to following this very special, mouthpiece and conduit of God's Torah. They will follow God and they will roar like a lion. They need to have that might. They need to have that mightiness within them. Here, one who strives after faith. So we've gone we've taken 3 steps here of happiness. The first happy is the person who just without any kind of struggle is just able to be a good person. How happy, how fortunate. The word happy here could also be translated as fortunate, just like the way Ashrei can be translated in those kinds of different ways. The second happy is the person who knows how to fight evil, right? Their righteousness is not something that ties their hands, or makes them into, what's, like the phrase, nice guys finish last, righteous people finish last. No, they know how to fight. They know how to engage. So that's the second happy. The third is the people who none of this is simple. None of this comes easily. They're striving after the faith. They're striving after a unitive vision that can put all of this into a coherent picture, right? So that they don't feel the kind of tension of being pulled one way or the other. The unease of the scruples that we might develop by saying, wait a second, this doesn't feel right. This fighting, is getting out of hand. We're losing the vision of what we're fighting all about, which can happen. So the striving to keep this mystery of oneness, which is what faith is, intact. How great are the ones, how greatly fortunate and happy are the ones who are engaged in that fight, who are engaged in that striving, right? Who don't give up that contest, right? Who don't say, it's all BS or it's impossible, but who keep on trying to make it whole, who keep on trying to make it one.
And Reb, isn't that line begins with referencing back Pakod and Zohar, right? So
right, that's right.
Isn't that saying this is all because those two things, those two forces, those two powers are actually unified here? That's why you can have that faith. That's why you can be victorious.
Yeah, so it's coming back to that, and it's saying, so why do we need to come back to that? Let's put it as a question. You're noticing it, and that's good. So why do we have to come back to that? What is the point that we're getting to? And I'm thinking about this in light of our study earlier this evening of the Haftorah for Shabbat Zohar, where the word pakod is there again. And what again is the difference between the pakod and the Zohar? Right? The difference that we gendered it, right? The Zohar gendered it, and we said Zohar is like Zachar, male, remembering, and pakod, attending to, taking account of, is more of the Shechina, feminine aspect, right? Coming in subsequently. First, you need the Zohar, you need the outpouring of active energy and flow, and then it needs to be marshaled and applied and so on. So to a certain extent, that's what we're talking about here. How do you apply that goodness? How do you make something come out okay? You want it to come out okay. That's the kind of like Zohar, right? But then how does it end up coming out okay, right? That's the pakod. There's a time lag, right? Remember with Sarah was Hashem pakadet Sarah. And the Zohar said, what happened to the Zohar? The answer was the Zohar happened before. The Zohar happened when God made the covenant originally with Abraham. That's when the flow was initiated. But then it took time for it to be able to accumulate properly, or if we take this tachbulot idea, to work it out. The strategy takes time to unfold. And how it eventually comes to, to fruition is not so easy to discern. The path is not a straightforward path necessarily. So the pakod is going to be challenging for us to discern. Right? We may have the Zohar is like the abstract principle. It's the statement per se. Evil must be fought at all costs. Okay? It's hard for me to imagine that somebody would reject that out of hand. The problem is putting it into practice. The problem is the strategic decisions that then need to be made to fight the evil. right? We don't want to tolerate evil. We don't want to accept evil. We don't want to affirm evil. We don't want to let evil win. So the principle, evil is bad. There, it's a tautology. We don't want it. That's the Zohar. That's the initial shot of adrenaline. But then the question is, so, okay, no, how do we follow through? How long will it take? Is it going to be a long game? Is it going to be an immediate instant strike? Is it going to be, how do we do this? How do we then put into effective results what our obvious commitment is? So I think that that's part of what we have, the Zohar is saying is, and that's going to be hard for us because we need obvious instant results. We would love it if all the good people immediately, won the lottery as soon as they did something nice. And we would love it if every bad person got zapped immediately. And that would simplify all of life. But that's not the way it happens. And when we have to take some of the agency from God and put it into our own world, then it gets really, really hairy. The fight against Amalek is a fight that starts with the word Zachor. Remember, this is non-negotiable. Amalek is bad, and never forget that. Lo tishkach, right? They attacked innocent people for no reason. There was no reason. There's no geopolitical reason. There's no financial reason. There's no racism reason. There's no reason. They came and they attacked people that were straggling along on the road. They got nothing out of it. The other people never did anything bad to them. And they wanted to attack and maraud. That's Amalek. So remember that that's not the way the world can be. Can't tolerate an Amalek. What God says in the Haftorah is Shaul, Saul, is now king of Israel. And we're talking about a few hundred years later, after the Amalek encounter in the desert. And God says, Pakadati. I've now come to take account. I've paid attention to now. It's time to settle the account with Amalek. And the Haftorah, we had a tough time with that Haftorah. It's a gut-wrenching and very upsetting Haftorah, very distressing morally, ethically. Haftorah, I'm not going to go back into it. I just want to be on record. But part of it is that it wasn't on the spur of the moment. It was about this kind of calculation. When do we do this? Do we bide our time? We let it go as if we don't care anymore. We let it go as if we've forgotten. We let it go as if all is forgiven. And then God says, okay, and now it's time. But the edge has been lost. From a human psychological consciousness perspective, it's no longer urgent for us. And that's a very, very tough pill to swallow then, to then say, okay, rouse yourself up and make believe that the evil happened only a second ago, and then have that first flush of outrage and response. It requires a mental gymnastics that we don't even want to engage in, and we think is actually very questionable. So I think that that's part of what this is alluding to. This is the difference between Zachor and Pakod. This is the difference between in the heat of the moment and then later. I've shared other times, just while I'm thinking about it. Years and years ago, I was walking home late at night in Brooklyn, where we used to live, and I was attacked by a gang of young people. And I was hit over the head with a big piece of wood, and practically lost my eye. I lost a couple of teeth. It wasn't fun. I theoretically and in principle am against the death penalty. I wanted those people killed. I wanted them completely destroyed. I mean, this was after they collected me, brought me to the hospital, and did what they needed to do. But that, at the heat of the moment, then in the first flush of my injury and of the injustice of the injury, I wanted full revenge. I wanted complete, balancing out of the accounts, and I wanted those people who were young people. I don't think any of them was older than 16. But it was like a whole bunch of them. And of course, eventually, thank God, I didn't lose my eye. The dentist gave me, implants. I was able to, be okay. And I don't want any of those people wiped out anymore. I don't want something terrible to happen to them. I mean, I want them to have a better life. I want them to, wake up and be decent human beings and be helped to that way of being. But that's later, right? That's later. And then the question is the pakod. What shape, what form does the pakod, the revisiting of what was from before, what shape should it take? What's the legitimate, consequence that should be applied as we remember that experience? So, in what shape and form should it be where it maintains a just connection to the past? And in what shape or form should it take so that justice is not used as a club to hit somebody over the head with? So that's the mystery of the faith. How do you keep that balance right? All right. Rabbi Chizkiah.
Rabbi Hiskiah said, certainly so. Come and see. When a person prays, he should not exclaim, remember me, attend to me, because there is remembering and attending for good, and remembering and attending for evil, who are poised to snatch the word from his mouth and proceed to recite his sins and punish him, unless he is perfectly righteous. So when remembering and attending for evil, search for his sins, they won't find them. As with Ezra, who said, remember me, oh my God, for good.
Okay, so this is what we say also in our prayers for a new month in Ya'aleh V'Yavo, when we have Rosh Chodesh and we add a special paragraph to the Amidah, and we say, may our prayers go up to you, right? And we say, Ya'aleh V'Yavo Zichronenu Ufikdonenu, right? Our remembrance and our accounting, or our attention, right? The consulting of what it is that needs to be done for us now. So, and then we say, Zachrenu Hashem Elokeinu bo l'tova, ufakdeinu bo livracha. So we take these words again, both of those words, and we say, may your remembrance be for good for us. May your attending to us be for a blessing. So here the Zohar says, why do we have to say that extra word? Because if we just say, oh God, remember me, who are you? Which part of you should God remember? Which actions should God remember, and which action should God set aside? Right? Which calculations should God make on your behalf and weigh the stuff that you failed in, and which calculation should God make so that it's the successes that will outweigh the failures? So you can't take for granted, hold on a second. You can't take for granted that simply by saying, God, remember me? God might say, oh God, yes, I do remember you. Oh no, so don't assume that remember me is going to be great. Can you imagine if you meet somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, and you go over and you go, hi, remember me? Maybe the remembering that they have of you is terrible. So what you have to pray for is not God, remember me, but God, please, if you're going to remember me, please remember me for the goodness that's connected to me, and not for the other stuff. So that's the advice that we have here. And of course, Ezra said that to God. The plain, simple meaning in the verse there is, hey, God, give me credit for the fact that I did A, B, and C. Didn't I do all this good stuff? But the way the Zohar says it, it's a little more, a little more humble, right? If there is anything that is good, I hope that's what you'll remember for me, God. Right? I need you to exercise your goodness rather than the other way around. If I just say, remember me, then the Zohar says, guess what? There are these like evil advocates that will jump on your words and just use them against you, right? This is like, when you see those shows, I have to caution you, anything you say might be used against you. That's their job. Their job is to delight in taking any opening that you can give them to attack you, to paint you, in the worst possible light, and convict you. They will try to do that. That's how the Zohar, pictures these agents of evil. They're also shrewd, right? Agents of evil are not simply marauding murderers. They make arguments. They make justifications. They make a case for why what they want to happen should happen, so that it sounds like it's right. Yeah, Merle.
Yeah. Am I?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're fine. Good.
Okay, so we're asking God to remember us for the good we did. So I'm going
Not just
back.
for the good we did, not just for the good we did. Remember us for the sake of goodness, right? Remember us for good. Use your powers of looking at people in a good light.
Okay.
So that you'll look in a more benevolent way at us.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about it the other way, so maybe I'm all wrong.
No, but the other way is also good. Yeah.
What I was going to ask is, going back to the top of page 394, where, some people are good and have to try to be good, and they're good, and other people are, quote, good, and they don't have to try, but it's not necessarily because they're trying to be good. I'll think of an example from my own life. When I was a teenager and in college, it was, during the late 60s, and, the drugs, recreational drugs were just coming on the scene, and underage drinking and smoking and all this stuff. I never did any of that, not because I was trying to be good or because I was afraid of it's illegal. I'm not going to do anything illegal. I just wasn't interested. It had no interest for me.
How happy and how fortunate you are. Seriously.
Well, it was very nice, but it wasn't because I was being good. It was just because.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
It was me. But interestingly, when my daughter came along, we couldn't relate to each other because I didn't have. Now my husband could relate to her, and they could talk about it. But she looked at me and said, "What do you know, Mom? You don't. know anything, and you don't know about the pressures, and you don't know about this, that, and the other thing. And it wasn't because I was trying to be good. It was just, I had brown hair and blue eyes. It's the same thing. It just
Right.
wasn't.
You just weren't that into it. That's all.
Not into it at all.
There you go.
So anyway,
Well,
it just, that
Ashrei,
paragraph
Ashrei,
reminds me.
Ashrei. How fortunate you are. Good.
Now, if you're talking about chocolate, that's a different story. But
Right. That's a battle.
right,
That's a
right.
battle. Right. All right. Yes, we continue. We continue.
Okay, where are we?
We're up to the last paragraph on 395.
Wherever a person prays, he should merge in multitude, totality of multitude. Come and see from the Shunammite. When Elisha asked her, "Can we speak on your behalf to the king or to the commander of the army? Can we speak on your behalf to the king?" That day was Rosh Hashanah, the day kingdom of heaven reigns, judging the world. The time the blessed Holy One is called king. So he asked her, "Can we speak on your behalf to the king?"
Right, with a capital K, not a small k, not to the king, the ruler of this country, but can Elisha, as a man of God, can we speak to the King of Kings, the Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Can we put in a good word for you? You're such a generous person. You take care of us, right? The Shunammite woman made a special pied-à-terre for him and took care of him whenever he came into. He was a circuit riding prophet, and she was very dedicated to helping him out, to supporting him. So he said to her, what can I do in return? Maybe can I say a good word to the king? Capital K. So what did she answer?
"What is written," she replied, "I dwell among my own people." What was she saying? I don't want to be designated above, but rather to include myself in the multitude and not exclude myself from their entirety. Similarly, one should merge in totality of multitude and not isolate himself so they won't notice him, reciting his sins, as we have said.
Right. So she says, "Betoch ami ani yoshevet." I sit among my people. I don't want to be special. I'm content to be part of my group, part of my community. So the Zohar says, first of all, when you pray, say, Zochreinu l'tova. Remember us for good. Don't forget that last word. Don't just say Zochreinu, Zochreini, right? That's the first part. The second part is, it's not just about you. When you situate yourself in prayer, connect yourself with the multitude, with the whole congregation, with the whole nation, and eventually with the whole world, right? You are part of a much, much, much bigger collection of beings than just yourself. So what the Zohar, suggests here is this is not just a worthy thing, it's also a great survival mechanism. If you put yourself in with the crowd, then the evil ones won't notice you. If you're not, pumping yourself up and making yourself so, standoutish, then guess what? You won't stand out, and you'll be part of everybody else, and then you'll go with the flow of everybody else. You won't be specifically, singled out. And of course, this is not just a question of like noticing; it's also a hubris question, right? It's saying that don't puff yourself up so much. Be part of the whole community, and understand that you are part of the whole community. When we start Yom Kippur night, we say B'yeshiva shel Mala, B'yeshiva shel Mata. Right? In the heavenly court above and down here in our terrestrial court, right? And theoretically, there's supposed to be 3 people standing there. The Chazan, the Shliach Tzibur, and at least 2 other people are standing there because they can constitute a Beit Din of 3, right? A court of 3. And they're holding Torahs. So we are the earthly court. And we say in the court above and in the court below, Harei anachnu matirim lihitpalel ima avaryanim. We hereby permit our prayers to be recited together with the avaryanim. So the simplest meaning is that we are saying we are all joining together, even with sinners. I know I'm righteous. I know you're righteous, but that other fellow down, at the end of the row, who knows what's going on with that person? Iberians. So avaryanim, not quite, but that's one way of saying it. And this, of course, follows from a Talmudic discussion in Kritut, where it says there no communal fast is the way it should be, unless it includes also the sinners of the community. Right? You need to do outreach and bring other people into the public demonstration of the communities trying to reach out to God. The idea is that the totality, the multitude, becomes an arena of forgiveness in itself. In itself, the idea that if we are all together, then forgiveness is programmed into that reality. Because that's the last time we had one person saving the world was Noah. And after that, God said, this was a terrible idea. I had to do it this time, but I'm never going to do it again. And from that point on, salvation depends on connection. Salvation depends on grouping together and being together. And this is, here the Zohar says, put yourself in with the community. I shared once, I'm sure by now I've used up all of my stories. This is pretty much 13 years ago. When I got the job here at Shomrei, I hadn't yet begun, but it was officially, announced that I got the job. And I got an email from somebody who said, I did a little Googling, and you're a member of a number of groups that I don't like. And, I don't think that they're good groups. So can you please explain yourself? What are you doing joining these groups? So I answered back that I try to join groups that have basic commitments to the values that I believe in. And I choose which groups I think pass that kind of test, and then I join. But I said, but the truth is that Len wrote something here. I don't know what he wrote here. It's time for him to retire. That's right. I think they are right. I'm going to take you up on that. Right? When you use up all your stories, it's time to retire. So, so I said, so I try to choose groups that I believe in their fundamental commitments, but there is not a single group that I belong to that I agree with 100%, including the Jewish people. So there's no such thing as being part of a group and then completely buying every single thing that that group is about. When that is the case, it's called fascism. Fascism is identifying with the group completely wholeheartedly and unquestioningly with a conviction that the group can do no wrong. It's precisely because the group can do wrong, but hopefully on balance tries to do better, that the group is worth something. I'm going to read and then we're going to conclude for tonight. This is the 8th chapter in the Rambam's Hilchot Tfilah from his Yad HaChazakah Mishnah Torah. He says like this, he says, Tfilat HaTzibur Nishma Tamid. The prayer of the community is always heard. Ba'afilu hayu bahem chotim. And even if there are sinners among them. Ein hakadosh baruch hu mo'es b'tfilatam shel rabim. The Holy Blessed One does not despise or reject the prayer of the many. Lefichach tzarich adam leshatef atzmo im hatzibur. Therefore, each person must join themselves with the collective, with the congregation. Don't pray on your own as long as you can possibly join the minyan and pray with the community. So, and then he goes on and on about that importance. But of course, we also are aware of the fact that our 99.9% of our prayers are written, the traditional prayers are written in plural form, right? We say, Slach lanu avinu, ki chatanu, right? Forgive us, our parent, for we have sinned, right? Rifa'enu Hashem v'nei rafei. Send healing to us, O Eternal One, so that we can be healed, right? Choneinu meitcha deya bina ve'askel. Please grant to all of us knowledge and understanding and smarts. So all of our prayers seek to incorporate us into the collective. Then in between, in the white spaces, then you put in your own prayer. Then you put in your own individuality in one way or another, both hopefully in praise and thanksgiving as well as in petition. But you're always putting yourself in the multitude, as the Zohar would say. All right, Zeig is in for tonight. Oh, that's what I would just a little tomorrow. Next week is Purim, so I think that we're not going to meet because some of us actually may not even be mentally capable of thinking straight. And the Zohar doesn't necessarily ask you to think straight, but a little bit. But I want to, unless otherwise announced, I think we're not going to have actually Parsha, which I didn't announce in 6:30, and we're not going to have Zohar next week in honor of celebrating Purim. So I want to wish everybody a Freilich and Purim, a happy and meaningful Purim. Sei gesund.
Yashkoach.
Thank you.
Thank you.